Hi guys, my name is Trinity and welcome to my channel. Today we are going to be celebrating 1 year on Booktube. And in celebration of my first year on Booktube, I reached out to my Discord peoples, my Twitter followers, and had them ask me some questions relating to my book journey thus far. One of the first questions that I got was from my friend Ben over at Literature and Lo-Fi, and I want to say that his videos are so good, and so if you're not subscribed to him yet, go check out his channel. But he had two questions. The first being, looking back on the last year of booktubing, what advice would you give your old self? Okay, some advice I would give my old self is don't listen to other people when they tell you what you should upload. And just have fun, because when I started the booktube journey, one of the things that I found myself falling into the trap of, and one of the things I wanted to avoid, was reading what everybody else was reading. Of course, you want to grab everyone's attention by letting them know that you read the same books that they do. Well, I don't. And so basically, what I would tell my old self is don't worry about it. Don't worry about it. You do you. And if people like your content, they'll stick around. The second question is, what's been the highlight of your first year with the channel? So I don't know. I don't know. As far as highlights go, we hit 200. We are almost at 300 now. And so that's very, very exciting. Getting to talk to more people about books, that's always very exciting. I've made some connections over the past year that I feel like have been very worthwhile to me personally. Were they worthwhile to the channel? That I can't say, but they have been worthwhile to me. I have found some great people that I can discuss books with, and I've enjoyed that much more than hitting any numbers or anything like that. So that has to be the highlight, right? Next, we have two questions from my friend Nina. And she asked, did Booktube change your reading habits? A little bit. If you guys don't know, I was a book blogger previous to starting Booktube. So my reading habits were pretty standard for a book blogger in the first place. So the only things that Booktube has changed is I've been trying to do more thematic things with Booktube lately. And so I'm picking up books that are probably not what I wanted to pick up at the time. I'm not much of a mood reader anyway. I'm becoming more so a mood reader than I have in the past, but there were always schedules. There were always reviews that had to be done. So that hasn't really changed for me. But I do find myself picking up books that are fitting a theme that I want to work with within a video. And I think that's the only way that my habits have actually changed. Question number 2, do you feel pressure to put out videos? Yes. So one of the things about Booktube is consistency. And so I do feel the pressure to put out videos. Sometimes the ideas just aren't there. And sometimes my ideas don't pan out the way I want them to. I was recording a Blood Song reread vlog. However, midway through the vlog, I got sick and just allergies, but I was down for a couple of days. And even though I was reading, I wasn't really up to vlogging that. But there's still the pressure to put out videos in a timely manner so that your Booktube channel continues to grow. And there's always a desire to put out new content so that you're not abandoning the people who have stuck around thus far. But I do feel like their pressure is there. Now, sometimes in a week, I will record 4 videos. Sometimes in a week, I will record 2 videos. But I feel like as long as I'm putting out that weekly content, as long as I'm sticking to a semi-regular time frame of when they get uploaded, I'm doing fine. Now, I can't stick to a schedule because of my physical health and my mental health. They're not always cooperative in putting out videos, but that is a pressure that I'm sure almost every booktuber feels, is to put out content at least on a weekly basis or at least every few days, however that works for them. This is from one of my newest friends on Twitter and Discord, and they've been such a great supporter of mine, and I adore them. Their name is Mindfunk on Discord and Twitter, and they're just so nice. How did you become such a dope human being with mostly good taste in books? Like the mostly. Well, I had great parents. That's all I can say about that. I had really great parents, had a great upbringing. I have always strived to live my life as anti-chaotic as possible. And so I'm really easygoing. My husband's easygoing. My child's easygoing. And we just try to live our lives where we are not adding to the chaos. And that's basically the only way I can answer that question. And my taste in books, to be perfectly honest, I don't listen to what everybody else says. So I go for what sounds good to me. And most of the time that kind of gears me towards what everyone else is not reading. Sometimes I do like the popular books. I do like The Name of the Wind. I do like Lightbringer. But many, many times it takes me off the beaten path. And there are very few people who read like me. There's Leslie from the Nerdy Narrative, I think has the closest reading taste to me that I've seen on Booktube. And there are a few book bloggers that have very similar tastes to me. Sam comes to mind. But I kind of live my life outside of the box. And this is kind of an everyday thing for me. It's not necessarily that I don't want to read the popular books because they're popular. I just don't like them. And so I have my own reading tastes, and they're easily defined. I figured that out, that they're pretty easily defined in what I like. But I just gravitate towards books that speak to me. And if they don't speak to me, I don't want to pick it up. So there's that answer. Okay, here's another from Nina. My guilty pleasure is reading My Little Pony comics. Did you have any guilty pleasures? This is a trick question because this was asked on Discord, and I know where this question is coming from. So I guess my guilty pleasure is erotic horror. I didn't know that this was a thing. And whenever I saw it on Goodreads, I was like, what kind of craziness is this? And come to realize I'd read at least 40 books in the erotic horror genre because Laurel K. Hamilton is classified as erotic horror. And so I was like, oh, well, I guess I've read a lot of erotic horror. And they will not let me live it down on the Oasis Discord at all. I like erotic horror. And it even became such a joke that we created a mini little book club within the Discord of reading trashy erotic horror novels. And you guys have probably seen, if you follow my Twitter, the latest in that fiasco. So my friend Heather at Just Gigging By asks, what is your most anticipated book of 2022? I'm going to have to pull up Goodreads because I don't even know what's releasing next year. If there is a new Covenant of Steel book, that will probably be it, by Anthony Ryan. I do know that the 4th book from the Blood and Ash series is going to be coming out next year. And after the 3rd book, my excitement has dwindled a little bit because that was just trash. But I still want to continue, I think. So we could include that in anticipated books for next year. Fevered Star by Rebecca Roanhorse, the sequel to The Black Sun, will be coming out next year, so I'm looking forward to that. T. Kingfisher has a new book coming out called Nettle and Bone, so there's another one to be excited about. But closer towards the end of the year, I will definitely be putting out a video of my most anticipated releases for the next year. And so I will get around to figuring out what's coming out next year other than those that I just talked about. But as far as anticipated releases, I'm always going to be anticipating the next Anthony Ryan. And if Jay Kristoff puts out another book, I'll be anticipating that as well. Okay, the next question is, has Booktube changed you in any way? No. Can I say that Booktube has made me more outgoing? No, I'm still a hermit. So it hasn't changed that. Hasn't given me a big head. I don't know. It hasn't changed me in any way. I'm trying to come up with something, even small, but no. Like I said, I've always been fairly easygoing and just kind of take things as they come. And so Booktube is just something else to add to my pile, but not in a bad way. And no, it hasn't changed me. Okay, so this question, I had to laugh because I quickly figured out that this person had not watched my channel before, because the question was, what book do people expect you to have read, but you have never read it? What big name fantasy horror book has everyone read, but you haven't? I think you guys all know the answer to this question. I don't know. What is a book that you think that I should have read that I haven't read yet? Let me know and I'll answer it down below, whether or not I've read it or why I haven't read it. But I'm not a big fan of the big five. We don't like those things here. And so there's a lot that I'm sure as a fantasy reader, there's people expect me to have read. I have read 2 Wheel of Time books. I've read Game of Thrones, the first game, like the first book. And I don't know. What do you expect me to have read that I haven't? Malazan? I'm not reading that. Let me know, because I don't know what I'm supposed to have read as a fantasy fan. I have read the first book of the Stormlight Archive. So, I mean, I think that I have read the books that people expect me to have read, but I haven't always liked those books. So, I don't know. Let me know. Big name fantasy or horror author that I haven't read yet. I think I've touched on them all. At least the big names. Django Wexler, still haven't read a book of his yet. Sebastian de Castile, haven't read any of his yet. Nick Cutter, I haven't read any Nick Cutter yet, though I do have a lot of his books on my TBR. So there's a horror author for you that I have not yet read. R. Scott Baker, haven't read him yet. So one that I don't know if they're big, but they're big in my circle is Michael R. Fletcher. I haven't read any of his books yet, and I really need to. I have a couple of them, so I need to get on that. But like I said, I think I've at least touched most of them, and then there's just a lot I haven't liked. What are your struggles as a booktuber? Time. So if you guys don't know, I am a stay-at-home mom. But for me, what that means is that I end up taking care of my house. And I have a larger house, so I do all of the cooking, all of the cleaning, all of the laundry. I take care of my dog. You guys have seen him. And I basically run the household. And so I'm always working. Like I don't get time off. And finding the time to sit down and record videos can be tedious sometimes. Now, the other thing that ties into that is I have some health issues that kind of limit my time that I spend away from doing those things. And I suffer from migraines. I have PCOS and PMDD. And PCOS causes a lot of other problems. So most of the time I can tie it back to having PCOS, but it still causes a lot of problems. So I do get sick quite often, and it's usually headaches, stomach aches, not anything too bad, but not anything you want to record a video while you're going through it. And I have really bad allergies as well. So like I do have to fight those things in order to record sometimes. And you guys might see that I'm tired a lot, but that all ties back to having PCOS and horrible allergies and sometimes migraines. So of course I won't record with a migraine, but you get the point. Sometimes coming up with content can be a struggle because all of us as booktubers, as content creators, we want to be putting out something that not everyone else is doing. We want to be unique. We want to be seen, I guess you could say that. But we want original content. We want you guys to be watching our original content. And so coming up with ideas for that can be difficult at times. And we end up doing tag videos because sometimes you just don't know what you're going to post that week, or you just don't know what to add to fill in the gaps. And we all have gaps because we can't all be reading constantly, but that is a struggle at times to just keep producing the content, keep coming up with new ideas for content. So, who is the best written villain in fantasy? I don't know. Andros Guile, Lightbringer. I think he's very, very well written, and I hate that man. I hate that man. I hate that man. There's a lot of people who find redeeming qualities in him towards the end of Lightbringer, and I'm like, no. Kyle from Shiv of Magic. Oh my god, I hate him. I hate him so much. But best written. So when I'm thinking about best written, I really want like a devious villain. And Baron Vladimir Harkonnen, I think that was his name. from Dune. I feel like he was a very well-written villain. Really, really devious. And I like those types of villains best. But I'm having a hard time coming up with. As far as book villains that I have read, I do think Andros Guile, the Baron, and I like they have to hold that hat for now, because as far as well-written villains, there are so few that are actually like really like just get under my skin and, you know, are truly devious and things like that. And now I know that I have been told there is a character from Live Ship that I'm probably going to start thinking this about in future books. And that Regal from the Farseer is someone that I need to continue the series so that I can figure out just how evil Regal is. But yeah, those would be the two that I would have to say were the best written villains that I've read so far. Oh, this one is funny. This person knows me. What books have you secretly written fan fiction about since starting your channel? Yes, I do write fan fiction, and so that was a jab at the fact that I do write fan fiction. However, no books have inspired me to write fan fiction. I tend to write fan fiction based on video games, mainly because they're not fleshed out enough for me and I need to fix it. So if you guys do read fan fiction, I am a fix-it fic author and basically just filling in the gaps. Like, why did you leave so many gaps? Now I have to go back and fix it. But yes, I do write fan fiction, and no, there are no books that have inspired me to write fan fiction. My friend Bryce at Shelf Centered asks, what's your favorite part of Booktube? Like, what keeps you going? What's your least favorite part? What books do you find are your go-to recommendations? So, what's my favorite part of being a booktuber community? I really like that as a whole, the book community really likes being involved with each other. So, in joining Booktube, you tend to find this great community of readers that you can interact with, and they interact with you, and so there's just more people to talk to about books, which I love it. I really love it. Also check out his channel. Least favorite part is probably trying to come up with ideas for Booktube, and I say that because I feel like there's a lot of things that are overdone that I don't want to do. And I also feel like there are some books that I'm just not going to talk about. And so I end up kind of digging myself into a hole a little bit. And that's not bad, but it is my least favorite part of being a booktuber. My go-to recommendations. Anthony Ryan. I am always going to recommend Anthony Ryan because I want everybody to read Anthony Ryan books. They need to. As far as other recommendations go, I don't like giving broad recommendations. I know I'm a booktuber, I shouldn't say that, but I do like giving more personalized recommendations, which is why whenever I do recommendations, I do stick to a theme. But Blackwing by Ed McDonald, The Raven Cycle, I believe that's what that series is called. I definitely give a banner recommendation for that. Grady Hendrix is another that I can kind of give a banner recommendation for, because even though he's horror, he's kind of horror light. John Gwen, The Faithful and the Fallen in particular, but I really love John Gwen, and I think that I could probably give a banner recommendation for John Gwen. However, I do know that he's a little divisive. But as far as recommendations go, tell me what you like and I'll tell you the book that lines up with what you like. This is kind of interesting because me and my friend Andrew, you guys have heard me talk about him a lot on this channel, but we have different tastes, completely different tastes, 100% different tastes. But we are good at recommending books to each other because we have such opposite tastes that when one of us doesn't like a book, it's almost like a recommendation for the other person liking the book. But yeah, I like giving individual recommendations more so than banner recommendations. But, you know, if I can pick a theme, then I can find a book that, or find books that fit that theme to recommend. And so I don't know that I have like a standard recommendation or books that I just have set aside saying, I'm just going to recommend all of these because our tastes are all so different. But I do have, like, I always put my favorites right here so that you guys can see them. So yes, I'm always recommending these because if you're like me, and I know you are, you have zoomed in on this shelf to see what is there. But that's about it as far as recommendations go. Okay, next. My friend Shaggy. She asks, what is a genre that you don't like that you wish you did? This is kind of difficult for me because I do tend to read from every genre except contemporary, and I don't care. I don't care about contemporary, and I don't wish I liked it. I guess I could put, I wish I liked epic fantasy better. I wish I could find more epic fantasy that I liked. Like, as far as epics go, the Five Warrior Angels, there's not a whole lot of epic fantasy that I really enjoy. And most of that is, I'm not a character-driven reader. So if you could find a plot-driven epic fantasy, then I would probably enjoy it. But yeah, I wish I liked epic fantasy better. That's the subgenre that I wish that I liked better. My friend Ben from the SFF Oasis asks, what is a book you really wish that you enjoyed but you didn't? That would be The Shadow of the Gods by John Gwen. You guys have heard me talk about this before, and I've said it just now. I'm not a character-driven reader, and so even though The Faithful and the Fallen is fairly character-driven, there's still a good plot within The Faithful and the Fallen that I can cling to, and there are a few exceptions to the rule, but The Shadow of the Gods, no, didn't like it. I still gave it 3 stars because I feel like John Gwen's writing got better. I feel like there were a lot of things done better in The Shadow of the Gods than was done in The Faithful and the Fallen, but I was bored. I was bored. I'm sorry, John Gwen. I'm sorry. All right, that is it for me today. Thank you for coming and celebrating my 1 year on Booktube. And if you liked the content, stick around. Subscribe. Do all the fun things. I'll see you guys in my next video. Bye.